Everything, of course, we always know starts internally and then the externally starts to shift. So a lot of you guys might be, of course, seeing a lot of different shifts. Now, there's been a lot of blips, okay? So you have probably experienced a lot of blips, a lot of timeline shifts, okay? And a lot of different things are going to be very relevant here over the next few weeks. It's not just the eclipse. You probably didn't feel really any type of big shift in a sense during the eclipse except for residual energy lifting, okay, or you being in shifting, or you being tired and wanting to recluse in. That has to do with some of the planetary alignments today that we are in. It's kind of calling forth a lot of divine feminine internal energy. It's kind of a sleepy kind of day. You might have felt this yesterday. This is partly because of the moon shifting into the void, okay, from where it was to where it's going. So there's going to be a lot of like softer side of energy. Most of the time we're in that mental rush, right, where we have to push things, or we have to make things make sense, or we have to, we have to always know something, or the mind is always going. And what the divine showed me between yesterday and today is that the mind has quieted down. And so there may be this sleepy type of void and you're not hearing any type of sound is what they're telling me. And that's very profound for you because you're not hearing a whole bunch of voices or a whole bunch of energies or feeling a whole bunch of energies around you. It's kind of been retractful so that you can go inside of you. But a lot of the peace of mind that you have tried to find or that has been hidden within this time is now relevant, and because it's coming up in the timeline in which you're experienced to me right now. The letter K is very relevant right now because they keep on giving me the letter K, okay? And so the divine is doing new things in your life. What seemed lifeless is now full of potential, and this is because things are moving exponentially, is what was just said to me, in a different type of energy, a different type of way, because you've moved your mind out of the way. So a lot of people have been going through different types of ebbs and flows of anxiety. So here's the best way I can say this is like energy might rush in, your head might be like having a lot of energy, you might be feeling a lot of cosmic energy that's coming through here in the planetary shifts, but yet your mind is still. So there's a stillness that you can feel in the air. And the stillness is relevant to you because the stillness is how the divine is coming through you. And of course, they're just all starting to play with my light here. And so how this energy is working through you right now is very relevant to you, about the mindset shifts and about the way that you're doing things. So that Virgo energy that we had here is all about the little pieces. For a lot of you, you played Tetris, okay? And so you understand that in order to get a line, you have to have all these building blocks. Virgo is the building blocks. And they said, the energy is not here to knock your socks off. You're going to see a transition, okay? God is doing a new thing. This is not a wing, bang, boom energy. This is an energy that comes in and then it slowly transitions you for you to begin. And what they showed me yesterday is they showed me, of course, the way that this energy is working. When they say the divine is doing new things, it's because of the fact is that where once things might have been difficult or hard, they are now easier for you to do. There's been a fear, there's been an apprehension, there's been an anxiety that's been removed about taking movement, about making steps that you're in, or pursuing things that you want to begin, okay? It's like you've really gotten out of the mind, but it's kind of a relief because it's so subtle though. It's so subtle. And remember, the energy of the divine transforms you. It informs you to transform you. The energy of the divine does not just inform you. How many times did you guys hear the same thing over and over and over and over again until you finally realized that it was you that had to change your mindset? And as soon as you changed your mindset, the way you divined, the way you devoted yourself to yourself in your time, the way that you devoted yourself to the things that you wanted to play about, is how these changes are starting to come about. There's been this opening of the flow of energy is what they're showing me. This opening of the flow of energy is not necessarily you knowing where you're going to go or where you're going to be. It's openness. It's in divine flow of energy. And for a lot of fixed signs, they don't necessarily like change. And it's not a change that is abrupt, that is quick. It's a very subtle change, but you can see the domino effect. They're telling me the ripple effect, and they're telling me that a lot of you are moving into more of these shifts where you're starting to see the ripple effect of the colors, or you're starting to see the ripple effect of things through the seams, or you're starting to actually see certain dreams that have potential that can be within your grasp, within your means, because the things are easier to open up to you. So there's this openness of flow and energy because of the way that you no longer close yourself off to be, is what was just said. So when they lead this in, a lot of you guys have been in this standstill energy where it's been like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I moving to? Where am I going? What am I seeking through? And during that time, even though all those questions may have been upon your mind, you were in a timeline for you to be able to eradicate, to allow the information to naturally transform you, not just inform you, to transform you, to transform your growth. And so this is where you really have to understand emotional intelligence. If you do not have emotional intelligence, you're not going to be able to discern shit when it comes to the spiritual realm. This is why they say shadow work is so important, but the way that it's put out there, the way that it's propagandized, the way that it comes through in the timelines is not really the way that it is inside. And so the shadow mind is where you are gaining emotional intelligence and emotional awareness about yourself, because yes, you are frequency, you are battery, and the battery outside of yourself is information for you to read. It is not facts for you to succeed. It is information for you to read. And if you don't have the emotional intelligence within yourself to understand what you're vibrating at, what you're feeling, you should be able to walk into a room, not only read the energy, but be able to see exactly what's going on with each individual person and know when the energy shift has happened in that room. When you walk into your home, you should be able to know what's going on in your home when you were not there and what's carrying within the air. Because of the emotional intelligence that you carry, you should be able to understand and feel and see the ripple effects that are happening because of the emotional intelligence. The emotional intelligence is moving your emotions, your victim-like spaces, your hurt, or allowing anything to trigger you. It's that nothing triggers you any longer because you understand that it was subsequential evidence to put you in a nothingness, the art of nothingness. The art of nothingness is where everything exists. And through the emotional intelligence, which means removing the hurt, removing the guilt, removing the shame, removing the expectation, removing the blame, removing all of the shit that carried on from past relationships too, because it's very evident that when you intertwine your soul with another energy, you've intertwined your soul with all of the other energies as well, okay? And so you're intertwining all of this shit, and you're undermining the relevance that it has to your spiritual development. Emotional intelligence is the core of your being, because then you also understand how all perspectives are. You see it from that person's perspective, this person's perspective, that narrative, but the overall objective. This is the awareness of self, the awareness of all things. This is the art of mastery, mastering yourself, and being able to turn those things that once were shortcomings into something else. That is why God's information does not just inform you, it restores you and transforms you if you're available to receive it. Now, how do you receive it? Ooh, you're not going to believe it. Here we go. So this is where, yeah, I hear you. This is where we begin, because it has to do all within you. It's a very humbled silence reaching for more. If you truly want to connect to something more, you won't treat it like a chore. You'll receive what you need. As soon as you seek, ye shall find. Once you bypass the mind. The humility. You're in a completely different timeline. When you awaken, your life was only half spoken, not joking. You were made for more. Life has seemed like a roller coaster chore, flipping through alternative realities and more. Shifts are occurring in multiple realities. Make sure you discern. When you feel your heart burn, open up to more. Ask for deliverance from the feeling once more. Sit in humbled silence reaching for more. If you truly want to connect to something more, you will not treat it like a chore. You will receive what you need. As you seek, ye shall find. Once you bypass the mind. The issue is that a lot of people can't continue to sit in humble silence to receive the obedience or receive the direction, because they then stop the relevance and they interject. How do they interject? They interject with their own feelings or their own mind, their own thought process, their own heart space. They put a negative connotation or a negative thought process on it. And this is how manifestation works. The universe is always in flow. It's always in flow if you understand to just go. And then when you just go and you just know, if you have pretenses about the way it's supposed to go, or you have a negative thought in between the beginning and the end of when you receive, then that is the internalization in which you repeat the cycle or the pattern again in stagnation, because it's your mind, it's your heart, it's your emotions. When you sit in that energy to receive, it's always naturally coming to you if you have the obedience to reprieve, is what was just said to me. Yo, God ain't playing. God ain't playing. I said what I said and I meant what I said. The difference between you and me in this reality is that I haven't obtained a belief in the unseen. Knowing not is all as that it seems. My belief runs deep as the vast open seas. My passion for what I seek runs deep in the veins of thee. It's true, what you believe and what you perceive to believe is the difference in this reality of the seams. Breaking through the matrix is a complex mindfuck. Be careful, you might get stuck. Breaking through the barriers of what lies ahead. Get it? Lies, L-I-E-S, ahead. Not all or were misled. They're a special type of bread. They hold the power of me within their head. You have the understanding. This is where it's very demanding. This is the call to action. This is that humbled understanding. So there's a song that keeps coming up over and over again, and it's called I'm on a Humble Quest. So maybe you might want to go digest that, because you're on a humble quest to find out where the divine and what God or the divine in your timeline, in the relevance of speaking. I know people have a big problem with the word God, because it's the masculine side of the universal energy of source. And I get it, that it is run on a very nasty patriarchy, okay? But the divine energy is the divine feminine of the universal energies that are coming through at this time, because the divine and us are calling for it to be led that way, so we can restore balance and bring heaven to earth. And that's what was promised to Abraham's children. But we are the ones that are making it work, because we are allowing the divine to come through us in this timeline, because we have removed the art of the matrix and what is seemed. Okay, I didn't read what you exactly get. I got you. Thank you. In order for people to feel God, they need to perceive in order to receive. In order for people to feel God, they need to perceive in order to receive. In order for people to believe, they have to be able to perceive. In order to receive, to feel, God the divine is real. In order to feel God is real, they have to believe in something that the human mind can't perceive in this dimensional reality to receive. It's a feeling. It's a feeling, and it's an art of development, of discernment, of spiritual intelligence, because you've learned it. And this is why, so very long ago, on the Egyptian temples of Isis, was written in a glow, is what was said to me. To thy own self be true, and know thyself through and through. Because once you do, you learn the art of mastery and the sacred destiny of alchemy and everything running through you. Not just in one paradigm, but vastly, is what's being said to me. So many of you are seeing multiple splits, multiple shifts, and it's going to be very relevant for your experience to be able to see what it was that you were always feeling to be, is what was just said to me. So there are many different prophecies that are playing out that are relevant in the timeline in which you divide. So I need more context. In which you divide. Okay, so you're not talking about the specific, you're talking about the outside, those that are not in the same timeline. Okay, thank you for that. Okay. Now they want me to talk about different abilities, different gifts, different interceding that's happening, because there were seeds that were planted. And in order for those seeds to succeed, okay, there's a ripple effect that needs to take place. So the seeding is part of the believing. The seeding is part of the art of receiving. Okay, is what they're telling me. The seeding is part of the art of receiving. Okay, then that seeding takes place. Then you need to be able to be in your own space for the interceding to take place, which is the interceding of that energy to grow, to multiply, to be able, like a plant, right? You seed it, you put it in dirt, and then it starts to sprout, right? So the interceding is what's needed to take place that's relevant. And so a lot of you have been in the interceding process, okay? Chaos. Yeah, there's been, and so we're just jumping between the interceding and the chaos because it's relevant to your experience, and they're going to use the word chaos, but chaos is only relevant to you and how you experience and how you see it and how you feel it. Okay? So if you term something chaos, and it's chaos, like somebody could term washing the dishes as chaos, right? Well, it's not really chaos. It's just a matter of how you perceive it. So the intersecting was for you to believe it. And the only way that you would be able to believe it, to be able to perceive it, is if the divine intersects upon that seed. The growth of what you want to breed in this reality. So the chaos was what caused you distress, but yet it's only relevant to your experience for you to process, to make the shift. A lot of you were working through the subconscious, right? But you didn't even know, they know not what they do. So a lot of you were working through the subconscious without even realizing what you were moving through or what you were going through or how God was interceding through you. Now, they want me to talk about the spiritual gifts. Again, we're going to go back here because I need to retract back. Through this interceding process, when you sit in humbled silence, okay, and move yourself away from the spiritual violence, all right, that's at play, you are in a new mindset to receive certain codes, okay, that are important for you to harbor, to hold, to be able to ascend or grow. There's multiple different words you could put on this. Spiritual intelligence, spiritual enlightenment, okay, ascension, whatever that was, all right? Okay. All right. I will go through that space. Okay. So the gifts, there's been the spiritual intelligence. So this goes with wisdom, okay? The ability to discern when certain things come through or certain messages come through. Thank you, Bumblebee. It doesn't mean that you act or react impulsively. What that means is that you sit in that relevance to receive, knowing that that's not all the message to be is what's just said. So learning obedience, right? They take me back to the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. How long did that kid sit there and wax on, wax off before he understood what was going on that was relevant to his development? This is the same ability that's coming through with the subconscious reprogramming. not necessarily knowing what's going on, not necessarily knowing what you're doing until after the fact, where you see that the subconscious has been actually reprogrammed without even you doing anything. This is the interceding of the divine. Now, the spiritual ability that comes with that, there is multiple, and we're not getting out there where it's cataclysmic, where it's very cosmic, it's very interstellar. These are very grounded principles, okay? The gift of prophecy. So the gift of prophecy is not only the art to see, but the art to be able to work with energies, to remove certain energies, to bless others. The gift of miracles, wonders, and signs, right? Okay? Now, there's also the gift of speaking. Now, this also is not only tongues, but it's also being able to decipher tongues, because everybody cannot decipher tongues, and everybody that deciphers tongues cannot speak tongues. Okay? So there is a relevance there as well. Then also the gift of actually being able to speak blessings, right, over others, or to be able to convey certain messages, right? Then there's the gift of wisdom, the gift of clarity, and the gift of healing. Okay, so the way that these things are coming through you, you can already see how these energies and where they're spiritually speaking already come through you, right? So the gift of seeing, the gift of knowing, the gift of being able to make things grow. Life and death off your tongue, as you know, is what's being said, right? Being able to decipher and decipher certain languages. Like there's languages that are given to me and spoken to me that I have no clue what they are or what they mean, but yet when I hear it, I can decipher it and I know exactly what it means. So it's not anything that I speak, it's not anything that's relevant in my human experience, but yet if somebody's speaking in another language, I automatically know exactly what they're saying. Okay, and it's being able to decipher languages. That's another gift. So there's a lot of new, God is doing new things in your life. What seemed lifeless is now full of potential. A star is born. They're taking me, of course, Isaiah's been really big. Isaiah 43 over the past 3 days. And this has been relevant in a message of receiving that I was putting together, because it's the interceding process of the experience in what you're experiencing. Destiny is shifting, okay? And it's all calling for us to really internalize and really come back online with the divine. The only way to do that is to allow the interceding process, okay? For you to remove the subconscious layers. That time, you might think of it as like being in the desert where it's all cracked and energy's all withered and nothing's growing, right? And you seem like you're going through the same thing over and over again, and you can't outbeat the mindset, okay? You can't outbeat the mindset. And a lot of you are thinking of it as you have to outbeat the mindset. There's like this competition within you where it's like, now it's become a game that's become relevant to you, okay, in trying to decipher where it's coming from. It's almost like, here's the deal, what they're showing me. This is partly what's needing to be removed within the collective here that I'm speaking to. What's happening that they're showing me is you're having a thought, okay? Great, cool, whatever. But the problem is that the moment that you have that thought, or that lower dimensional thought, or that vibration that doesn't feel good, everybody knows what that is to them, right? It's like Peter Pan, think happy thoughts, okay? As soon as you have that negative thought, what happens is then automatically you sit there and you try to figure out, how is it relevant to you? Why is it relevant to you? And you internalize it, okay? The Virgo energy is getting you to not do that, even though Venus is in retrograde. So maybe this is something you were going through right before this full moon, an eclipse type of energy shift. So the thought process then is you dive deep like the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups energy in a negative content is internalizing everything, internalizing every thought. Okay, so there's thought-provoking things that are going on. But when you have a negative thought, or when you have a bullshit thought, or you have some excuse, or you have some complaint, okay, this energy that's right here, you're going, well, why is that going on? What's wrong? What's wrong with me? How's it? And you keep going in that rhetoric, okay? The ultimate goal here is to not pay attention to it. Let it be. Let it come in and let it go out. Back that up with an action that leads to not self-doubt. Because as soon as then you move, okay, and you start to take action, I don't care if you get up and start doing jumping jacks. I don't care if you walk out the door and start doing something else. You got to redirect, because then what happens is whatever you're doing in that moment, that negative thought that's come up, you've connected that negative thought with that action in which you were doing in the moment. So now every time that you have an action that is coinciding with that, you're going to have a negative feeling about that thing that you were doing in that moment that you had the negative thought. So what you have to do is you have to break away from that. So you have that negative thought, and immediately you need to replace it with an action vibration. Move your ass, your mind will follow. Okay? Because the endorphins that you then alchemize, okay, move the energy, which then makes the mind follow into the new energy that you are building and creating. That is alchemy at its finest. You want to learn your every move, your every thought, and how to alchemize absolutely everything in your life? Come hang out with me for a little bit, all right? That is the alchemization. So this energy is asking you to alchemize and do that differently, do that pattern differently. No, it is not easy, but this is where you start to feel where nothing is wrong. That peace in the silence, leaving behind thinking that something's always wrong. The interceding, okay, the glowing. So they're telling me that this is like the glowworm. Yeah, they're like lighting up this glowworm in front of me. This is going back to this openness and this flow. A lot of you are not knowing which way to go. A lot of you are confused. A lot of you have been abused, which has led to a lot of confusion in your life, okay? And it's caused a lot of intrusion, right? Because it's almost like you've been marked, right? Now, I was marked a really long time ago when I was a kid, and I was spiritually attacked more and literally spiritually attacked before I was ever abused in my lifetime. So I had a really good time trusting people over spirits, all right, at that time in my life. So I was really naive, and I put a lot of trust into people other than spirits. So I had to redirect all of that energy. So now there's a lot of confusion because some of you really don't trust the intrusion that's coming through you now, or the vibration, because a lot of you have been through different types of abusing situations, different type of confusing situations, different types of situations where they're showing me that you put time, effort, energy into something that was relevant to you, but yet it didn't flower through. Okay, and you could say that the reason that it didn't flower through is because it wasn't the right time, or da-da-da-da-da. No, it was all accountability upon your mind. It was all accountability upon your mind. I hate to put it on your shoulders in that way, but me being a overcomer and a survivor of those spaces to the depths of my own life and my own breath being put on the line, it is you that has to do that work, that has to change that algorithm, that has to change that mindset. You have a little bit more work to probably do because you're bouncing back between gaslighting yourself, okay? You're bouncing back between pretenses and not trusting yourself. You are in a different type of energy, but that does not mean that it's not relevant to you here with what we're speaking. You probably just have a little bit more work to do in the mind, okay? All right? Because it takes a little bit more time, okay, for that process to unwind. Remember, you didn't get there overnight. You didn't stay there overnight, okay? And you didn't leave there overnight either. So then this mindset is a continuous reprogramming that you have to work on. It is a sacred destiny because what you're doing is you're gaining emotional intelligence. You're gaining spiritual intelligence too. Understanding how all the spiritual energies are playing through you and with you. Now, this is where, though, that negative type of energy, okay, turns into something remarkable and beautiful later on. All right? Here's how. Because when you are in situations where you are physically, mentally, emotionally abused, and you continue to put energy into something outside of you to fill that void, to make you feel better, okay? To make you not feel the way that you feel because you feel too much, which is very, very real, because you are what we call sensitive. Everybody on this planet is sensitive if they choose to be, if they choose to open up and receive that type of energy, okay? Now, when you become sensitive in that, there's a lot of development that's going on. And it's almost like when kids have their frontal lobe developing up until the age of 5, right? And it's like a very, very important time, right? It's the same type of thing for you. It's a very, very, very poignant time. When you go through those things of how you go through, it doesn't matter. Everybody in this room in one form or way has suffered from some type of addiction in some sort of way, okay? Because it's spiritual affliction, all right? It's temptation, all right? It's you can literally be obsessed with anything that you choose to distract you. When you come from the situations of being or staying or not trusting yourself and not doing those things, you trick yourself in multiple ways. So a lot of people that I'm speaking to right now have a little bit more work to do to undo the programming that was done to themselves to reprogram themselves. All right? The spiritual and emotional intelligence. When you start to work with this energy, because what happens is you do nothing but question yourself over and over again. Okay? That energy, even though blamed you for everything, even though it made you the scapegoat, even though you were the problem, right? Okay? All right? In that situation, victim is what we're going to use. Just for here. I don't like that word. It makes me want to vomit, okay? Because nobody's a victim in that circumstance, okay? All right. So, in this space, you are not trusting yourself. You're not guiding yourself. You're not listening to yourself. There's no emotional intelligence there. Okay? You can't decipher your emotions. You can't decipher what you're feeling because the head's all fucked up in the gaslighting and the rewiring and the pretenses and all of that. All right? What that does is you continuously question yourself. You continuously doubt yourself. You continuously to take accountability for things that probably weren't yours to take accountability for. All right? When that occurs, okay, you do anything and everything to understand why and uncover why. And you continuously ask your questions of why. Because you just want to understand. The reason you want to understand is so that you make sure that you never end up in those situations again. But you will peel yourself apart trying to understand, overstand, and understand. And it doesn't work that way. That's your demand. That's your will. The way that it works is through the experience, okay? Allowing the divine to work through you. And allowing you to understand that those energies that you have gone through, that when you peel yourself apart and you continue to add to those layers, the only thing you get is clarity, wisdom, and spiritual intelligence and emotional intelligence that's relevant. Because then you start to see absolutely everything in multiple layers, which means why they're doing what they're doing, how they're doing what they're doing, why the situation is occurring, okay? Why? Because you've taken a lot of time to peel yourself apart, and they call that healing, right? But I call it the reverse ego. Because when you are in one set, you're in another set. And most of the time, the reverse ego is taking on so much blame or accountability for things in which you went wrong. Trying to understand why. You're not going to understand why because it was not all yours to understand why. And it was not all yours in that situation. When you start to flip this energy around, okay, and you start to build this emotional intelligence, all right, and sitting in quietness to allow the divine to intercede and show you those red flags later on. You go through the experience to understand. Because until you understand, you won't understand or overstand. When you understand, you then can apply that and help somebody else on demand. Because you have gone through the full experience, the full circle. When you develop that type of discernment within yourself, and you have learned that type of emotional intelligence that's relevant to you in those experiences, you will understand all the other players on the chessboard with you. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's emotional, physical, whatever that is. The point is that when you peel yourself apart so incredibly much, you understand yourself. You're alchemizing that energy to turn it into something that's very relevant to you, to gift something to somebody else, to take the spiritual intelligence, spiritual discernment that you've learned, to gift it to somebody else, okay? It's not all bad why you went through these things, but the thing is that you had to develop the emotional, social, okay, intelligence so that you could make it relevant in your experience to be somebody that could see all sides of it, to be able to help others in need, okay? And as you continue to grow and you continue to open up to the energies that bring on the validation of discernment, the more you allow the divine to intercede for you to receive, you are going to be shown in multiple timelines why. This is why sometimes you'll see all the beautiful tarot readers and psychic readers come out and they'll be like, you're going to understand why. You're going to understand why. You're going to have the clarity. You're going to know. You're going to know. Because you're going to have some type of power moment that's going to make it relevant and go, oh shit, that's why. But you have to allow the divine time to intercede, to put the puzzle pieces together of what you need. People have a very hard time sitting in obedience. They ask why. I'm being brought back to this. Obstacles versus opposition. They ask questions and they seek, but yet they don't give time to receive. They are not obedient to receive. What that means is that if they don't receive the answer when they have the expectation of receiving the answer, they move on to something else that they need. So they're not even allowing that time to come in and flow for the divine to even practically show them what they need to know to grow. They've already moved on to something else. That's the monkey mind. But yet they want to receive, they want to be able to have the clarity, but yet they've moved on to some other piece that's not relevant to what they were asking for in the first place to seek. So the divine isn't going to give you any more than what you need, because of the fact is that maybe you're not able to see it in that moment, because you're not able to receive it, because you may not believe it when it comes through to you, because there's absorption of the energies that need to come through. So bits and pieces come through to you. Write them down. Put them in your Rolodex. You already know. All right, you already know how the divine feminine works. She takes absolutely everything that everybody's done to her and puts it in a Rolodex to use it for later. Do the same thing, okay, with the new flavor. This is where you're really learning to alchemize the human characteristics, okay, into something better, where you can also connect it, because it's intersecting to the divine in spirituality. You're all being asked to dive deeper, which is because there's a higher calling on your life. There's a higher level. There's a higher healing. There's a wisdom. Thank you. And so you guys have been asking to receive these things, but yet when these things come through to you, okay, in obedience, you fall short. Because you don't give the energy time to receive, or you're moving on to something else. Or you sit here and you take yourself and you hear the information that informs you, but you do nothing with the information to transform you. You are hesitant. And this is why they've asked you to remove the hesitancy to what it is that you do, or what it is that you're being asked to do. It's very relevant to your experience of the feeling of what's next to do. Many seek, but only, many seek, but only few will find. Because they don't have the art of bypassing the mind to sit in humbled silence, which is relevant, of knowing when to stay, of knowing when to move, of being asked. So there's deciphering that's going on. So there's a lot of you guys that are receiving what we call downloads or messages, right? And so there's a lot of receiving that's going on, okay? And you're deciphering through the metaphors or what you're seeing. Give it 2 more days, because we're in a void. Don't try to figure anything out now. It's really about internalization things. It's really about chill out. It's really, if you could be an astronaut today, be an astronaut today. Okay? If you can be an astronaut today, be an astronaut today. Because you're in a space where it's just moving in with the flow of the moon. Most of the time, if we were back in the days where we were actually working with the energies even more with Gaia, it would be a quiet day. You would kind of see the community just on this calm flow of things. This is the interceding. So there's going to be ripple effects that are shifts. A lot of you have heard these big changes, these big shifts, all of this that is relevant to you and your experience. How it comes through you is relevant to how you perceive it, okay? If you truly believe it. Three. Okay, you're giving me the layers. Where are you relating this to? Okay. All right, so we're gonna go out here for a minute. So we're gonna change the energy here, and we're gonna go out here but pull it back in. So is there, this is the one. So there's another shift within a shift, and so there's another split. Okay. So, dimensionally speaking, every time that they have shown me things, it's one dimensional layer on top of dimensional layer on top of dimensional layer. Looks like pancakes. Right now, there's 3 layers that are relevant. Okay? So there's 3 layers that are relevant. Alright? So, and I know, like, I'm like, okay, but why are you just giving me 3 when there's more than 3? There's 12 to 14 different layers, even more than that. But speaking where they speak, in a sense. So, all right. So, most of you, okay, are right here in this middle. This is dimensionally beneath you. This is all based upon frequency level. So this is all based upon Hertz frequency, okay? Mindset, all right? Cognitivity is what they said. So there is a difference. Everybody talks about the collective conscious, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You got the collective conscious and you got the collective unconscious, so which one are you working at? Which wolf will you feed? So here we go. Most of you are here, okay? Now, some of you are here. Alright? Let's say this is 700 to 1,000 hertz. Okay, this is like heaven to earth, completely in flow. Alright, 700 to 1,000 hertz. This here is 500 to 700 hertz. Okay? Within this layer right here, there's a split that's happening, and you can see it, that's relevant to you. This split that's happening, this level gets split this way, but they're splitting it this way. So whatever split occurs here gets shifted here. This split here stays here. This split here that's below goes back down and repeats the process. Now, because of the timeline shift, and this all has to do with eclipse energy. Okay? Doesn't mean in September they won't break through this barrier, right? Because there's another layer with these energies during the eclipse in September, because we go from back-to-back energy. What they were funneling through me yesterday is that, okay, it's over here. I drew all over it. It was, you want to go watch the video, go watch the video on YouTube. It's up on YouTube, okay? But it's relevant because they were showing me that the eclipse energy, of course, is opening up a doorway. But it's energy that's available for you to be able to grasp, to move through, to move to. All the planetary shifts that are happening are very relevant energies for you to work with and master through, okay? They are all there and available for you to grab a hold of, to review, to move forward. Passion projects, things that once didn't work are going to be easier to do, being in that flow of energy. Now this energy then that's opened up for you, okay, March 29th, we've got the solar, okay, eclipse and a new moon, all right? So there's an opening of a shift of energy. It's almost like spitting out of one space into another space dimensionally. This is why you've been pushed, or the trials, the tribulations, the heavy energy. There's been so much releasing, or so much anxiety, because anything that you fear, anything that brings you anxiety, anything that brings you any lower level dimensional thought process or emotion is going to be relevant in this experience, because that's what you're getting to release. But some of it is very subconscious, where it's self-limiting beliefs you don't understand yet, that are just naturally happening in the background. So then we've got this energy that's going to be available for 6 months, right? Most of the time eclipse energy is available for 6 months, so it's 6 months availability. With that 6 months availability, then we have another shift in September, okay? Now, those of you that hit this shift are probably going to hit this shift too in September. But those people that I was talking about, those souls, those individuals, okay, that are here, that here, will go back through and work through. This does have a lot to do with Saturn. This does have a lot to do with the Great Mind crossover, is what they're telling me. And a lot of it has to do with the divine feminine energy, and a lot of the divine feminine energy stepping into their sacred destiny, right? And we're not talking male or female. We're talking divine feminine energy, all right? The worth, the understanding, not second guessing, feeling into everything, discerning, the emotional intelligence. I love you guys, all right? So the emotional intelligence that we were all speaking of. Yes, I'll put this up on YouTube as well as soon as I can. So that's part of the shift that you're feeling, okay? For those of you that are at that 700, in a sense, to 1,000 hertz, which is, you could call it divine love, you could call it gratitude, you know, you could call it just in flow of everything, and being able to see everything is the best way to say that, from a very higher plane, okay? In flow of destiny, North Node energy is the best way to say that. You're in alignment, you're no longer on consignment, which means any type of dharma, karma, any generational process, any limiting beliefs, all of those things in which you have worked through have been very relevant to you, because you've moved through those barriers. Thank you. You've moved through those barriers in the process, okay? So That's why you're kind of in this, you feel this energy that's like something's about to charge up, something's about to happen, I feel it, but yet you're in this kind of like peaceful energy. Okay, so a lot of people are going to come online at this time. Open up. So you're going to see another shift in another rift is what was just said to me. You're going to see another shift in another rift. And we all know that that's all part of multiple prophecies. Okay, but there's going to be another shift in another rift. And I've always been told it's going to be a smooth transition. All right. And you are going to see these things, but not truly be affected by these things. Okay. It's going to be reflective to your perspective and what you choose to see in your reality and where you choose to distract yourself. Everything can be a distraction. That's part of this spiritual intelligence. Everything can be a distraction. Everything is a distraction depending on what you choose to give your distraction to, right? So everything, hey mama, I need to call you. You've been on my mind for like 3 days. So, it's not today. It's very interesting because they're giving me this energy of just the next, not today, but we are talking 24 hours now to 48 hours now. There will be major shifts within your energy that is relevant to you. So for those of you that have been praying for clarity or praying for breakthrough or praying for doors to open or praying to make it through, is what the divine's speaking to me right now. The next 24 to 48 hours, that will come through. The void is actually nice because it's kind of a reprieve and a kind of a clearing of an energy. Okay. So the next 24 to 48 hours, there is going to be breakthrough. Breakthrough doesn't necessarily mean monetary. It means that the tower has occurred where you have relevance to what it was that you heard, or you have confirmation, or you have the next step in revelation is what was just said. Thank you, Curly Girl. So you have next step in revelation. That's the breakthrough. But today, just make it through. Make it through, just chill. And so there's this different vibe in the live right now where there's a lot of angst, okay? And there's a lot of emotion, and there's a lot of pretenses, and there's a lot of notions, all right? Whether it be about me or about themselves or about the way that they see the world right now. And so then there's others of you that are in the live that are like, I don't know what the fuck's happening, but we're just chill. We're just kind of kicking it. It's literally like, you know, it's just like you're a castaway, all right? And so I had to say that if Tess is in this room still. It's like you're just a castaway and you're all by yourself and you're just kind of floating in the energy. And you're just in this energy of waiting for the next step to be relevant to you. All right? You know something is birthing. You know something is breeding. You know something is seeding. And you're allowing the interseeding process to come through you. Okay? Enjoy it. Your divine feminine you has left the divine masculine you. Enjoy it. Receive it. Okay? Perceive it. Understand why that's going on. Because the fact is that the patriarchal system, the masculine side of you is no longer relevant to the feminine in the frequency that it's requiring you to be at in your level of experience in this reality. So, of course, your divine feminine is going to be like, yeah, peace out, homie. Congratulations, you got exactly what you asked for. See ya. Deuces. Because that frequency is something that's no longer going to be put up within thee, is what was just said. And so the masculine has to rise to you in this level of timeline. So the mind has to match up with the matter. And the mattering is of the heart. The mattering is of the heart and the emotional start and the intuition and the guided direction that the divine is coming through with you at this time is what was just said to me for you in that question. So it's very relevant to you to not sit and breed hesitation, to not sit in emotional thought, to feel what you're feeling and move with no thought. You're also healing. So when we say healing, I don't mean as, oh, boo-hoo, there's been, this terrible experience that has happened acutely to you. And maybe there has, but that's not what I'm feeling. I feel like when they say healing here, it's more of a cellular healing where there's more third strand DNA being activated within your body in an enlightening way. And so there's more relevant spiritual experiences that you're having, but yet your masculine is like, yeah, cut this shit out. This is bullshit. I don't know what the fuck you're thinking. You know what I mean? And the divine is like, no, this is beautiful. This is how it's supposed to be. You're removing the obligation from the divine, right? So you're removing what you feel and what you think you're obligated to what the divine is calling you to do. So send that masculine packing within yourself and say, bye-bye, we're doing this in a new way. Congratulations, you're doing something new and God is doing new things with you. And that's just how it's working through you. If you would like more help with that, you can come check me out and hang out with me for a little while. And we'll get you fixed up, all right, in multiple ways. So that's pretty much what's happening with you. So the 24 to 48 hours, they're asking me to go back to that now. The 24 to 48 hours is going to bring you clarity of if I should go or if I should stay or if this is relevant to you. But when you are in obedience and you sit and you stay and it is very relevant to you, going back to the speaking of Isaiah, when they brought Isaiah through this morning, when it was talking about God is doing new things in your life, what seemed lifeless is now full of potential, a star is born, okay? It's because you have moved into exponential energy. That's the higher calling. Judgment. Many of you might be seeing judgment upon your life, which is not necessarily bad. But what it's saying here is that anything that is of old can now no longer be within the new. There's Archangel Gabriel that's part of that calling. And it makes sense because Mercury, Messenger, Hermes, there's a lot of throat chakra opening and healing here too. And what it means is things where maybe you didn't say something and you should have said something, or maybe things that meant something to you that you didn't speak through. Those things are very healing and relevant to you. That type of thought process is, oh, I'll just shut the fuck up because it doesn't mean shit anyway. Well, in certain situations, it does mean things because it's relevant to you and your experience, but how you emotionally move through those things is what you have to determine through, is what's being said. So many of you think that you have been misled, and like in one form or fashion or another, I think it was what they're giving to me is where you had to learn the art of discernment, and so you misled yourself. Okay? Identity. So it goes back to the spiritual identity loss, and losing oneself to find oneself, okay, in that action-packed energy. All right. The emotional self. Why? And my team has said this to me for about 3 months now. That's probably a little over-exaggerate. Maybe 2. All right. Why rush your healing when you can master it? Because the art of mastery is here, is to master thyself, to be able to bring heaven to earth. You can't bring heaven to earth until you master yourself. Emotional intelligence is where it all starts. This is why they all talk about shadow work, but the way that they talk about shadow work, it's like you can go through this book and you can be done and over with it. No, that'll leave you dead, broke, and shook, because you're going to repeat the same old cycles over and over and over and over again. That's part of the woke that's going on here. And so it's those same psyopses and those same cycles that you're repeating, and you finally had a different way of seeing, a different way of believing, that it was like, hold on, I've done so much of this doesn't make any sense anymore, is why this keeps coming up. And so you are not here to literally continuously go through that process over and over and over and over and over and over again. What it is it's relevant to you for you to take inventory of thyself. When you were wrong, you took accountability and corrected that energy. And so instead of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, or giving somebody the same old apology and expecting the same result, you decided to do something differently, which is part of integrity, part of accountability. So you started to do that, and that is the emotional intelligence here that you finally moved into, going, okay, now this makes sense to me. If it comes up, I will deal with it. But you're realizing how every acute emotion and every acute energy that you were feeling, that was attached to other things, because then you started reeling, then you started peeling, then you started healing. Now in your experience, it's only relevant to you if there's a catalyst where you need to take accountability. So there's really not necessarily any more that you have to do. Okay, and so you started asking to see things in a different way. And so that's when you started to understand things in a different way, where it's not about the art of continuously healing, it's the art of self-mastery to be revealing. Concealing. So the way that they gave me the word concealing and the way that they showed me concealing was very different. So it's not necessarily always about hiding spiritual like abilities or that type of stuff. It's concealing the things that you feel that you're believing that you're receiving. Okay, so you're concealing things that you feel that you believe that you're receiving. So not acting on those things in which you're concealing. It's like dreams, aspirations, things that you want to do, right? You're concealing those things inside, is the variation in how they gave me that word and how they gave me the context behind the word. So the concealing is going to be revealing to you, because the inside is now going to match the outside this time, right? The inside is now going to match the outside. So that connectiveness and what you're moving into next that has been concealing inside of you is going to be revealing to you, because it's a next of the process. So a lot of you have been getting like the Emperor card. You're past the Empress. The Empress is mastering the art of the intuition and mastering the art of the mind. The Magician is the alchemizing of the energy, okay? The two, the High Priestess, is being able to master the secrets, all right? Being able to master the intuition, being able to master the mind. The Empress is the birthing of something new inside, not something new inside. The Emperor is the state in which that action takes. So a lot of you are getting the Emperor card, or you're getting the World card, and some of you are just leaving things up to fate with good measure for part of the clause. Now, the clause must be relevant to you in your contract somewhere that is pursuing, okay? The clause could be different for each and every one of you. I have no fucking clue what the clause is, but the clause is something that you wrote in. Your heart's knowing, your heart's going. You could even say growing, but it's not growing in the way that the heart is growing, expanding into universal energies of what it's able to receive, to believe, to perceive. Would you believe it? So if you knew what you were for, would you believe it if the divine showed up to your door? I know this is almost like that Piscean, like cosmic woo-woo, but it's very solid. It's very grounded energy here that's coming through. It's very spiritual and enlightening here, but it's not where consequential energy, consequences or consequences to your apprehensiveness. So maybe there was consequences to your apprehensiveness in the past, but yet at the same time, whatever you have been working through in this emotional state is uncovering these things that is going to allow your next steps to take place. So the void today, and for some of you tomorrow, of not knowing and just going with the flow, is going to be the art to what it is that you must know or you must grow. Jeez almighty. Yeah, everybody's coming back home, huh? I can see that and feel that and have for a while now. So, that showing me the Three of Swords, which is very interesting energy for me to even see the Three of Swords. Now, the Three of Swords to me is where the Three of Swords is where the mind is causing emotional distress. It's the swords that are in the heart space that have caused emotional distress. Because a lot of you are now seeing through where you have had to take accountability for what you've done to you. So it's the mind that's causing the emotion. And now you're having to reroute yourself in process to overcome the mind. Remember, the war was on your mind, the pride was on your soul. And the more that the mind creates the emotion, which is not at a 0 point state because of all the emotions that you have connected to past emotional states. This is the releasing project that you're going through. All right? This is the releasing project that you're going through. So you're having to rewire the thought process, connecting to the emotions to get to the zero state of divinity. It's almost as if like they're showing me some of you are just going backwards 2 steps to come forwards 5 steps. Okay? And this could be part of that Venus retrograde energy where it's just like weird stuff's coming up, or like out of nowhere you'll have this feeling that connects to a thought from past energies that have occurred in your experience. And you might just be like, what the fuck? Why is that happening? Don't get hooked on why it's coming up. Move into something differently in a physical way. Do something different. It's like, don't allow that sword to cause an emotion, because it's really going to get you in a cycle space of going over and over and over again. Okay. Maybe some of you need to get out into and really get in connected with Mother Earth, because they're showing me a shovel here. So this is what we would do. We would really connect and ground with Gaia. You have to understand the ebbs and the flows, and you're being pushed more into natural formations of the ebbs and the flows of the cycles of the moon and things that recycle through. So you're being way more connected here to Gaia, to the divine, to the creative expression of the divine here that's relevant to you in your timeline. So maybe you're not liking the way that things are looking with where you stay. And so you're going to start and change those things to become more in tune, to become more reflective, to become more connected here to the ebbs and flows of the divine within your sacred timeline. Okay? There's a reason why a lot of you have pulled away from all those holidays and all those things, because they don't feel right, right? The holidays don't feel right. It's because you're actually moving back more in natural sync, like all of our ancestors were, with the divine natural order of the energy, so that the divine feminine energy can come through and take order. Okay? Thank you so much to each and every one of you that have been here with me today. I do have to get going and stick with some mentees today. If you guys would like to jump in with me, all right, at some point in time in mentorship, or have a divine intention intervention session with me, you're more than welcome to. The link is in the bio. Today's the last day for all of the sales that are going on. So if you go to the website, you just hit the homepage, there's going to be all the sales that are there and the announcements. There is a brand new class that is up. The class is the Egyptian Reiki Healing. I am a master teacher. We will certify you level 1, 2, and 3 in Egyptian Reiki, okay? And it is on a deeper level of experience of symbology and the way that the energy moves through those layers. Class is going to start April the 1st. I'm only taking 5 people at a time, okay? Because it's very important that each and every one of you get the individualist time that you need, but also to be able to feel the energies of the room, but also to be able to work in those group settings, because if you're going to be working with people later on, and I'm the one that certifies you, you're going to be certified right, all right? So just know that this is very, very big. This is very special. The class starts April 1st. There's 4 spots left, okay? I had somebody sign up yesterday. The only thing is half is due now, where the other half is due when you start the class. All right, so it's only $166 to even get signed up for the class, and then it's a 4-week class. We're going to meet on Tuesday nights at 8:30. It'll be an hour-and-a-half class, all right? I hope to see you there. I am accepting pre-orders for the Sacred Shield Sugar Scrub. So for those of you that didn't get the Sacred Shield Auric Field Cleanse Sugar Scrub, that is available for you guys, a pre-order on the website too. All right, and that class is up, and I'll be holding more classes, and I may make a wait list as well. So if you would like certification in level 1, 2, and 3, Egyptian Reiki healing, so that you can actually understand the energies, work with the symbolization, work with the energy of your chakra system, and how those chakras work, come hang out with me and see me. All right, till we meet again. Mwah.